I'm Sean, and I lead MasterCard Digital Labs in Eastern Europe, Middle East, and Africa. It is such a privilege to be here with you all today. Now, my promise to you is that after these next 15 minutes, by the time you decide to leave here today, you are going to leave a better version of yourself. How am I going to do this? I'm going to create an oversimplification of my experience of leading 187 innovation initiatives in 41 countries and 4 continents. So, let's go for a spin, shall we? I like to start by telling a little bit of a story. Remember when crypto was all the rage? You know, you'd log on to LinkedIn and your feed would be inundated with people who are crypto experts. And it made you feel a little insecure. It made you feel a little uninformed. And you hated feeling that way. And then just as you figured out what an NFT was and you bought yourself some Bitcoin, next thing, AI becomes flavor of the month. And then when you go onto LinkedIn, there's all these AI experts. But you know what the funny thing is? A lot of those people that are AI experts on that day, just yesterday, they were crypto experts. How do they become experts so quickly? Well, the fact of the matter, friends, is that when it comes to hot topics such as AI and crypto, the world is full of charlatans. People who do it for the likes, but couldn't tell you the difference between an LLM and an SLM. So, what I'm going to do here with you here today is an oversimplification of the core fundamentals of artificial intelligence, how organizations are using them to win. And most importantly, we're going to talk about it through the lens of user-centricity or user-centric design. Now, AI is new, right? Right? Good. A quote that I like to use is, "The future happens slowly and then all at once." Now, I didn't invent this myself. I intellectually recycled it from Ernest Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises. And the quote is, "How did you go bankrupt? 2 ways, gradually, and then suddenly." Now, we find ourselves in a world where the incremental innovations from early machine learning technologies such as chatbots, such as editors, have now, as image editors, have all of a sudden led to a leap forward in terms of artificial intelligence. But the fact of the matter is, AI has been around since 1950, with Alan Turing and the Turing test. It's just now that things that used to take years now take you months and weeks. Think about what are some of the most groundbreaking innovations that humankind has seen. And you might name things like the birth of the internet, the smartphone revolution, even the e-commerce revolution. Now, MasterCard will tell you that by 2040, the rate of change is going to be so fast that 3 of those events will happen every single year. Another staggering prediction is that 85% of the skills that you will need by 2030 don't even exist yet. The one interesting thing that we are noticing, though, is that the evolution of a lot of the AI solutions these days is mimicking the evolution, the transformation that we saw with early technologies such as the ATM and even online banking. What do I mean? The first ATMs only functioned during banking hours. The first online banks only sought to digitize an already painful manual process. They did not reinvent and reimagine what the future could be. So, the winners in AI in the future are not only going to be the organizations that have the best technology or the best data, they're going to be those organizations that can take all of that and put it together in a delightful user experience. But more importantly, something that solves a real problem. Whereas the world that we find ourselves in right now, majority of AI solutions need to announce themselves loudly with shiny buttons, flashy banners, saying, "Pick me, choose me, love me." The world that we want to wake up in is a world when AI is so deeply integrated into our day-to-day lives that we don't even know that we're using AI at all. So, the question that we're asking ourselves in 2025 is the same question that we were asking ourselves in 1950s about AI. Is AI here to stay? And the honest answer is, and the honest answer should be, we are cautiously optimistic that it is. Why? Since 1950, there have been 2 AI winters, times when people thought AI was going to be the next best thing since bread came sliced, but the return on investment and the use cases didn't quite pan out. All the signs, though, are hugely positive this time, so we remain optimistic, cautiously. Now, we live in a time where the rate of change is exponential, meaning that the rate of failure is also exponential. But failure is simply an opportunity to begin again, and this time more intelligently. We have found that there are 3 common themes in the organizations that get AI right. And these are some of the lessons learned from them. The first, solve for a real customer problem. AI, for the sake of AI, will not transform your organization from a caterpillar into a butterfly. It'll just make you a faster caterpillar. We need to define our scope around real customer problems and make sure that we're solving for root causes and not symptoms. The next, a large amount of AI initiatives never make it past the lab into production. Why? Because there's a lack of prioritizing high-impact, low-effort use cases that actually add value. So, the mantra that we say is threefold. Think big, start small, and iterate often. Dream the big dream of where you want to be in 3 to 5 years' time. But figure out what is going to be your MVP, do that now, and iterate every so often to make sure that you turn hypothesis into data and that you are learning faster than your competition. And then the 3 Ds, data drives decisions. Start with the smallest amount of clean data that you have and quality data, and then use that to scale exponentially. Now, there's also the concept of augmented intelligence. Before we unleash our AI into the wild, we need to make sure that there's human oversight, and that's where augmented intelligence plays a very, very important role. Now, in introducing the foundational building blocks of AI, I'm going to talk to you about the 7 patterns of AI. Now, most of the time when people talk about AI, they're talking about ChatGPT or conversational AI, but that's just one pattern. The way that you spot someone who actually understands what they're talking about is to be able to critique and delve down into how they're building their different solutions using the 7 patterns. Now, the way that I can simplify this is each of the 7 patterns is a flavor of ice cream. And you can take these different flavors of ice cream and you can make something unique. You can make something different. So, for example, I might take vanilla ice cream, put it into coffee, and create an affogato. I might take salted caramel, chocolate, rum, and raisin, create a whole new flavor. And that's exactly how the most successful organizations are using the 7 patterns of AI to create something new. Here we go. I'll introduce the 7 patterns to you. Now, the first, hyper-personalization. These are tailoring experiences and content to individual users. This is not about a one-size-fits-all. It's about using AI to treat every single person uniquely and solve for unique problems. Autonomous systems. These are systems that can operate independently without any human intervention. The third pattern is predictive analytics. This is where you'd use data and analysis to predict future occurrences. Then you've got conversational human interaction, where most of the time ChatGPT plays a role in this. But this is enabling natural language conversations with AI. Pattern and anomaly detection is identifying patterns and deviations from those expected patterns. Recognition is quite simply identifying and categorizing objects. They could be images, data, and so on, to create new insight that never existed before. And then you've got goal-driven systems, systems that are designed to achieve very specific goals through planning and learning. So systems that can plan and learn by themselves. I would invite you to take a picture of this slide because trust me, it will change your life, especially when talking to people that seem a little bit too clued up on AI. This is how you can get to the bottom of it. But I know what you're thinking. You're like, Sean, this is all great in theory. How are people actually using this? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's find out. Okay, so this is how organizations are winning. And it's more than just banks. It's organizations across a range of industries. So let's talk about hyper-personalization. I really like what the Singapore government is doing with Moments of Life. They've decided that the best way to provide services to their citizens is not to treating everyone according to age or according to gender. It's about identifying specific life moments with their citizens. So there's a birth, there's a death, there's a divorce. You're exiting the workforce, you're starting your first job. How can you curate a bouquet of services at that specific point in time so you provide the right service to the right customer at the right time? The impact has been phenomenal. Over 250,000 downloads since inception. 7 out of 10 newborns are now registered on the app. But best of all, it has shortened registration time from 60 minutes to just 15. I also like the first one. Let's talk about that for a second. Discovery Bank in South Africa. Discovery prides themselves on being the world's first behavioral bank. What have they done? They basically issue smart devices to their customers, so Apple Watches, Fitbits, and so on a rent-to-own model. So what does that mean? It means if you get your Apple Watch from Discovery Bank, and if you do 10,000 steps every day, you do not have to pay back the Apple Watch subscription that month. Even better, if you drive your car in a responsible way, the smart device picks up your heavy braking, picks up your acceleration, right? So if you drive in a very responsible way, it'll lower your insurance premiums. Why? Because Discovery understands that healthier clients, safer clients, are better clients. Let's take a look at what's been done in the stage of autonomous systems. I really like Maib in Moldova. They've created and deployed an AI to fully automate customer service and fraud detection. The so what behind this is it operates without any user intervention. In the pilot, it has achieved 0 fraud cases, and based on the promising feedback from that, they're looking to say that this will drive their cost-to-income ratio down to 45% from 60 by the end of this year. Phenomenal. And they're not alone. OCBC Bank has an AI-powered compliance monitor. Wells Fargo has a virtual assistant which interacts with over 1 million clients monthly. Okay. What about pattern number 3? Predictive analytics and decision support. I really like First Abu Dhabi Bank. What they've done is they've decided their future is about hyper-personalization. So they've implemented an AI agent on 900 tablets. 900 tablets on their frontline sales staff. So when a relationship manager, a banker, a salesperson is having a conversation with a client, you've got the power of almighty AI at your fingertips to provide better input. In doing so, First Abu Dhabi Bank is able to provide tailored products, loyalty rewards, and cards which increase engagement. Truly phenomenal. MasterCard as well with Portfolio Optimizer has basically helped banks, or rather we provided these tools that provide double-digit growth on cardholder spend. And you've got UBS that has predictive analytics for wealth management and risk assessment. But let's keep this going. Pattern number 4, conversational and human interactions. This is where most of us discovered AI recently in terms of ChatGPT and so on. I really like what the Australian government has done. They've simplified the tax refund process by creating a virtual assistant called Alex. Alex has had over 2 million conversations in the first 18 months. Best of all, 88% of those conversations have been resolved in first contact with Alex, and it's contributed to an 8 to 10% reduction in call volumes. Look at that. They've saved 9.7 million in client red tape. Phenomenal. And you can see they're not alone. Capital One with Inno, HDFC Bank with the electronic assistant as well. This is a really mature use case to follow. Let's keep it going. Pattern number 5, pattern anomaly detection. What I really like over here is the middle one, United States IRS. They're using this for AI fraud detection, right? What are some of the impacts or some of the outcomes of this? AI fraud detection has recovered 375 million in 2023. Treasury's AI saved or recovered 4 billion in just 1 year. But it gets better than that. Check fraud detection has improved by 358%. And you can see 360 billion plus online payments of fraud have been successfully investigated annually. Let's take a look at pattern number 6, recognition. For me, the absolute best case study of this is India with their Aadhaar system for governments. So basically, over 1.4 billion customers are registered on this, right? It provides 1.3 billion face authentication transactions since launch, 21.6% monthly growth in just March 2025 alone. But the best part is, this secure user identity, using AI for user identification, means that you can access over 1,700 government departments with the safety and security of knowing that AI is protecting you. And last but not least, a 7th pattern, goal-driven systems. I really like Luna Bank. They've created a financial super app with goal-oriented AI. So what have they done over here? They're basically saying, let's allow our super app to help clients manage finances from all the other banks that they have. And in doing so, we can provide good insight, timely insight. We can provide responsible ways of ensuring customer spend and customer education. This has boosted user retention and engagement, and it's supporting over 500,000 customers over 3 Nordic markets. So what you can see from the 7 patterns is that you're not alone in this journey, and people are winning, even though there's a lot of hype around AI. But we find ourselves in scary times. So let me use a quote by my countryman and the most famous South African of all time. It's not Elon Musk. It's Nelson Mandela. And he said, "May your choices reflect your hopes and not your fears." What does this mean? We currently find ourselves in the do-it-for-me economy. We are now moving at a state where change is faster than Moore's law. The AI systems that we have now are helping us develop and build even better AI systems. The flywheel is really flying now, and the next 1 to 2 years will really be transformational in terms of us as a human race. So what is it that we as MasterCard have been doing? I'm not going to give you a sales pitch, but you pretty much know these. We process over 150 billion events annually using AI, up to 300% improvement in fraud detection using our AI-powered tools. I'm very proud of the last one. We can help clients come up with a 3 to 5 year roadmap in just 1 day, which is implementable the following week. But I'm going to spare you the details of that. I instead will leave you with a quote that I did make up. I did not intellectually recycle this. When AI becomes nothing, it becomes everything. And I will say that again for dramatic effect. When AI becomes nothing, it becomes everything. What do I mean? When AI doesn't have to announce itself in shiny badges and buttons saying, "Use me, press here for magic." When it is so integrated in your day-to-day life that you don't know that you're using AI, but you actually are, and it is making a real difference in your life, as opposed to just making you a faster human being, that's the world that we want to wake up in. So with that, friends, it was a privilege meeting you all and talking to you today. I wish you a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much, and see you soon.